The golf club restaurant buzzed with the usual Saturday afternoon crowd. Men in polo shirts discussing handicaps and deals, their voices carrying across the mahogany-paneled room. I sat in the corner booth, laptop open, trying to finish the acquisition paperwork before Monday's board meeting. Just another workday that happened to be at Pine Valley Country Club. That's when I heard my father's voice, loud and commanding as always, cutting through the ambient chatter. "Peterson, there you are." Dad's booming voice made me instinctively shrink into my booth. Just the man I wanted to see. Mark Peterson, my former boss, now technically my employee, sat 2 tables over. I watched him look up from his lunch with barely concealed annoyance as my father, Robert Sullivan, planted himself at the table uninvited. "Robert," Mark acknowledged coolly. "What can I do for you?" "It's about my daughter, Jessica." My stomach dropped. "She's still working for you?" "She's still with the company, yes." Dad laughed, that harsh bark I knew so well. "Look, Mark, I'll cut to the chase. I know she's been there 5 years, and I'm sure she's adequate at whatever little tasks you have her doing. But let's be honest here." I closed my laptop quietly, my hands trembling slightly. "Fire her," Dad continued, lowering his voice to what he thought was confidential. "She's just a secretary who got lucky, riding coattails. The girl has no real business sense. Trust me, I tried to teach her. She's emotional, soft, doesn't understand how the real world works." "Is that so?" Mark's voice was steady, unreadable. "Between us men," Dad leaned in conspiratorially, "she's holding you back. I bet she cries in meetings, right? Probably dating someone in accounting to keep her job. That's her style. Find a man to take care of her, because she can't cut it on her own." My vision blurred. 5 years of 80-hour weeks. 5 years of building the digital infrastructure that saved the company. 5 years of being told I was doing so well for a secretary, when I was actually senior VP of operations. "You know," Dad continued, "I have a nephew, sharp kid, just graduated from Wharton. Now he understands business. I could set up an introduction." "Mr. Sullivan," Mark interrupted, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "I need to tell you something about your daughter." "Oh, I know all about Jessica," Dad waved dismissively. "Peaked in high school, coasted through state college, can barely balance her own checkbook. I've been supporting her for years because her little secretary salary doesn't cover her expensive tastes." That was a lie. I hadn't taken a penny from him since I was 18. Every handout he offered came with strings, demands to quit my job, get married, give him grandchildren, stop playing career woman. "Sir," Mark's voice had taken on an edge of barely suppressed laughter. "Jessica bought the company last month." The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the ice settling in Dad's whiskey glass. "I'm sorry, what?" Dad's voice cracked. "Jessica Sullivan is the new owner and CEO of Meridian Technologies. I report to her. The entire company reports to her. She orchestrated a $47 million leveraged buyout, brought in 3 major investors, and retained 51% controlling interest." That's impossible. "She's just a secretary?" Mark supplied helpfully. "No, Robert. She hasn't been a secretary since her 2nd month with us. She revolutionized our operations, increased efficiency by 300%, and personally coded the software that put us on the map. The board begged her to take over when our previous CEO retired. I stood up then, smoothing down my dress, and walked over to their table. "Hi, Dad." My father's face went through several colors. White, red, purple, like a slot machine of humiliation. "Jessica." He strangled out my name. "Mark, thank you for lunch Thursday. The merger proposals look good." I kept my voice professional, calm. "Dad, what a surprise. I didn't know you were a member here." "I've been a member for 30 years, he managed. "How nice. I just joined last month. Corporate membership, you understand." I smiled pleasantly. "Mark, don't let me interrupt your lunch. We can discuss the Richardson account Monday." "Of course, Miss Sullivan." Mark stood up, ever the professional. "Enjoy your weekend." I turned to leave, but Dad grabbed my wrist. "Jessica, wait. This is some kind of joke, right? You can't have bought. You don't have that kind of money." I gently removed his hand. "Actually, I do. Turns out that little secretary salary, invested wisely over 5 years, plus the patents I filed for the software I developed, plus the equity I negotiated instead of raises, added up to quite a bit. But you never told me. You never asked, Dad. Every family dinner, you spent telling me about how I was wasting my life, how I should be more like Brandon. My perfect brother, the doctor. You literally introduced me to your friends as my daughter, the secretary, last Christmas. At Mom's funeral, you told Aunt Linda I'd probably quit soon anyway to focus on finding a husband. His mouth opened and closed soundlessly. Do you want to know the best part? I continued, my voice still perfectly calm. Meridian handles the pension management for your company. We're your primary 401k administrator. So technically, I control your retirement fund. The color drained from his face completely. Don't worry, I added. I'm not you. I don't use my position to hurt people just because I can. Your pension is safe. That's the difference between us, Dad. You punch down. I don't. Jessica, sweetheart, I didn't mean. Yes, you did. I cut him off. You meant every word. Just like you meant it when you told me not to bother with computer science because girls aren't good at math. Just like you meant it when you said my promotion to manager was probably a diversity thing. Just like you meant it when you told Brandon my success was cute, but his was substantial. A small crowd had gathered, pretending not to watch while absolutely watching. Several faces I recognized, business associates of my father's, all looking decidedly uncomfortable. But here's what you didn't mean to do, I continued. You didn't mean to motivate me. Every time you told me I wasn't good enough, I worked harder. Every time you dismissed my achievements, I achieved more. Every time you told people I was just a secretary, I built my empire quietly, without your noise. Dad's jaw worked furiously. This is how you treat your father? Publicly humiliating me? I'm not humiliating you, Dad. I'm just existing. Successfully. It's not my fault that my success makes you feel small. That's something you need to work out on your own. I pulled out my business card, the new ones with CEO printed under my name, and placed it on the table. In case you ever want to have a real conversation about who I actually am, instead of who you decided I was when I was 12. Mark Peterson coughed delicately. Robert, if it helps, your daughter is the best CEO we've ever had. We're projected to triple our revenue this year under her leadership. Did she ask you to say that? Dad snarled. No, Mark replied coolly. She asked me to cut dead weight and focus on innovation. Speaking of which, that nephew of yours from Wharton? He applied last month. Jessica personally reviewed his application. Rejected. Turns out a fancy degree doesn't make up for lack of actual skills. I touched Mark's shoulder lightly. That's enough. Thank you, Mark. As I walked back to my table, I heard Dad's voice, smaller now, desperate. Your mother would be disappointed in you. I stopped. Turned back. Mom? Mom who taught me to code when I was 8? Mom who said I could be anything I wanted? Mom who told me on her deathbed not to let you make me small? I smiled sadly. No, Dad. She'd be proud. She always was, even when you weren't. I gathered my things and left, passing by tables of wide-eyed country club members who'd just witnessed Robert Sullivan, big man, loud voice, important opinions, get quietly demolished by his disappointing daughter. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. Brandon, Dad just called. Says you bought a company? Says you embarrassed him at the club? Please tell me someone recorded it. I typed back. I did, and I'm sure someone did. How's residency? Exhausting. But apparently not as exhausting as being Dad's least favorite child. Congratulations on the CEO thing. Mom would have loved this. Thanks, Bran. Jess, I'm proud of you. Always have been. I sat in my Tesla, yes, the secretary had a Tesla now, and let myself cry for just a moment. Not sad tears. Relieved ones. 29 years of carrying the weight of my father's disappointment, and I'd finally set it down. My phone rang. Mark Peterson. Sorry to bother you on the weekend, he said. But I thought you should know. Your father left the club, and a half-dozen members approached me about potential partnerships with Meridian. Turns out they're very impressed with our new leadership. Even though I'm just a secretary who got lucky? Mark laughed. Jessica, you're many things. Lucky isn't one of them. You worked for everything you have. After we hung up, I drove home to my penthouse apartment, the one I'd bought cash, not that Dad knew, and poured myself a glass of wine. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city sprawling below, lights beginning to twinkle in the gathering dusk. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number, but I recognized the area code. Dad's golf buddy, Richard Winters. Jessica? Richard Winters here. Just wanted to say, that was long overdue. Your father's been talking down about you for years. Good to see the truth come out. Also, Winters Industries is looking to modernize our systems. Maybe we could talk. By the time I finished my wine, I had 17 similar messages. Turns out, Dad's country club buddies were tired of his blowhard act too, and they were very interested in doing business with someone who built themselves up instead of tearing others down. Monday morning came, and I walked into my office, corner suite, top floor, the one Dad would have killed for in his prime. My assistant, Kevin, handed me coffee and the morning agenda. "Busy weekend?" he asked with a knowing smile. "Eventful," I admitted. "Any fires to put out?" "Just one. Robert Sullivan called 6 times. Says it's urgent." I considered it. "Send him to voicemail. I'll call him back when I have time." "When will that be?" I smiled, thinking of all those years of being told I wasn't important enough for his time, wasn't smart enough for his attention, wasn't son enough for his pride. "I'll have to check my schedule. I'm pretty busy these days. You know how it is, running a company and all." Kevin grinned. "Just a secretary who got lucky, right?" "The luckiest," I agreed, settling into my CEO chair. "Now, let's talk about the Richardson merger. I have some ideas." Outside my office windows, the city hummed with possibility. Somewhere out there, my father was probably still trying to process how his disappointing daughter had outplayed him at his own game. But I didn't have time to worry about that. I had a company to run, an empire to build, and a legacy to create. Turns out the secretary was taking notes all along. She just wasn't taking orders. And the best part, this was only the beginning.